Yeah, hi there. You guys are studying some very difficult grammar over at your TOEFL Facebook group here, Indonesia. Let's look at this one. So some people are picking B, some people are picking E on this thing. I'm looking at it myself. It's giving me a headache. Let's look at it together. So my bicycle was blank by now, but I see it blank sitting there in the shop, still broken. So there's a couple of things that I think can help me understand this. So one is passive voice. The other is active voice, I think is also important here. And then also, what even makes it more challenging is understanding infinitives and gerunds, right? So if you understand, I think, these things, you can probably understand this question. So first of all, passive voice is formed by using the be verb plus the past participle. We'll just say PP, right? Active voice does not, right? So typically with passive voice, the subject is receiving the action. With active voice, the subject is doing the action. Now, infinitives. Many times they talk about potential events, right? This helps me understand, and gerunds typically, they talk about completed actions, or maybe even ongoing actions. Now, what I'm telling you here does not work 100% of the time with gerunds and infinitives. They are very sticky grammar, to be sure. But first of all, I think right away when it says my bicycle was, and then I see repair, it's telling me here I need passive voice. My bicycle was blank by now. It means that somebody should have repaired this bicycle by this point. So I think passive voice is going to work better. So in this case, A, it does not have a form of the verb be plus the past participle in the first answer here. So we have to get rid of this one. Another one, B. No, B is possible because it does have was and then repaired, right? And then we have sit. C is possible because it says to be repaired and then to have sat. But D, we got to get rid of it because there is no passive voice, at least with that first auxiliary verb was. So at least now we have B, C, and we have D. Now the next thing is, I think if we understand a little bit more about infinitives and gerunds, it might help us understand about this question. So infinitives are talking about potential actions or events. So let's look at the first one. So is the bicycle, was it repaired? The answer is no because of the word but, right? So it says, but I see it blank there in my shop, still broken. So it looks like here we are talking about a potential action, something that should have happened in the past but didn't. So I think the infinitive is going to work better in that first part of the question. So that means I got to get rid of this one because repaired is not an infinitive. So now we're down to C and we're down to E. We have our two choices here. Okay, so here we have my bicycle was to be repaired, but here's the question. We're talking about something that happened in the past, not the present. Actually, we're talking about an impossible situation that didn't happen in the past. So I think the to have been is going to work better than to be because of that reason here. So I'm going to get rid of that. Now let's take a look at this. Now if we take this sentence and rewrite it, let me show you what we might have here. You might say, then you might say, So if you look at it like this, it can probably help you understand more. So let's look at this. So my bicycle was supposed to have been repaired by someone, but I see that it is sitting there in the shop. It is still broken. But look at all that repetition there. We don't need all of that. So in this case, the writer has gotten rid of this. Notice how we're still using sitting here because we're using it as a gerund. And when you go back to gerunds, we talk about gerunds as completed actions or ongoing actions. So that seems to fit. I see it sitting there in the shop. And instead of saying it is still broken, we got rid of that subject and that verb, so we don't have a comma splice there. And we have this. So my bicycle was, and instead of saying this, we just have it like that. So that kind of helps you understand how the writer has written this sentence. So my bicycle was to have been repaired, but I see it sitting there in the shop still broken, and that helps explain why we use E, to have been repaired and then sitting. So E in this case is the best answer. So again, in order to understand the grammar in that sentence, you want to make sure you have a good understanding of forming passive and active voice. You also want to make sure you understand gerunds and infinitives.